Hey, welcome back again to Yama's room. Today, we're going to talk about, as the title says, emotional attachment. But welcome to the stream. This segment is new. This is called the Toy Stories, and basically, hold on for a second, the text is skewed. Basically, what Toy Stories are is basically somewhat a sharing session from my experience in collecting toys, and also tips and tricks for later down the road. We have photography tips and so on in another segment. I already prepared that, but not today. Today we're going to talk about the emotional attachment to toys. Personally, when you collect toys, either it be for just for kicks, or you actually enjoy toy collecting, there are various reasons, and those reasons are personal and are different from each people. But one thing remains the same, that for toys or for merchandises that you have an emotional attachment to, you will most likely care for them more than the rest. This is not something like you should feel guilty about. Instead, this is perfectly normal. And I mean, look from the simple things like, for instance, for certain toys that you love more than the rest, you put them on better displays, you put them on better protected cases and better shelves, a higher place, or somewhere you can always see them. And that's actually, there's no problem with that, and that's okay. That's basically part of the hobby. However, let's start by addressing that the emotional attachments can be of different intensity and also different reasons. Some people enjoy an IP, or some people enjoy certain merchandises or certain items because they have, I wouldn't say a taste, but an attraction to it. So, for instance, I know a friend who is a collector of purple robots. No, I'm not kidding. He only collects purple bots. And this bot isn't really like I mean, the definition of his purple painted robot is very, very inclusive. He collects from Transformers to I think it was one of the Chinese third-party original IP, but it was colored purple, so he got that too. And some people collect because of a certain memory. Like, for instance, personally, I like Thundercats, I like Silverhawks, and I like Transformers. I kind of grew up with them, so they have a very, very special place to me. Because, for instance, I remember that I collected the Transformers 5 Faces of Darkness special, so anything that appears on those, any robot that appears on the 5 Faces of Darkness, I collect them. And there are various reasons, and people can get attracted to the IP itself, or the merchandises, or a trait of the merchandises, and that's pretty fine. However, collecting based on emotional attachment can be hard at times. What I'm saying is, for some people, I mean, I'm lucky enough that Transformers and Thundercats and Silverhawks were pretty popular back in the day, so their toys and their collectibles isn't that hard, even until today. Well, for Transformers only, but Thundercats and Silverhawks are pretty much non-existent these days, so that's pretty natural. But if you want to be fair, some people have it rougher than the rest. And I mean like people who are a fan of certain niche cartoons like, no, not Masters of the Universe. Masters of the Universe got a bump up recently. But things like, I know a friend who loves anything related to Courage the Cowardly Dog. And yet it was so hard to find merchandises for it. And sometimes he grew really, really like tired of waiting. And so he just, I don't know, man, should I just sell my collection or something? And that kind of emotional attachment, it can be taxing. Like, you are expecting something to appear, you are expecting something, but yet it never came. So is it a bad thing, this emotional attachment? No, I don't think it. In fact, it's a good thing that it does give you drive if you put it on moderation. I mean, if you're not too, let's just say, too overly excited or overly eager to collect. I mean, I've seen people who've like waited years, literal years, like 20 years or so, for the next Silverhawks toy, and then suddenly, poof, last year Silverhawks from Super 7 appeared. I know a friend who's been waiting for, I think it was the AOZ, the Gundam Zeta AOZ series, and he was expecting a certain mobile suit, and then suddenly, poof, this year they made it. Things like that. Like I said, if you're overly attached emotionally, it can be tiring. It can be tiring both for you and for everybody else. What I mean for everybody else is that when you're overly attached to a certain IP or certain merchandise, and then that merchandise or IP doesn't get the spotlight, or hasn't been made for a long while, you'd probably think, and for the most cases you probably will, almost talk your friend's ear off at any chance given. And people can be tired of these things. Like, and then somehow it would cascade into people getting tired of you. I mean, sure, people would get excited. It's always fun that when people are excited for the same thing as you are, but sometimes people get tired of hearing the same thing coming out from you. And when you're overly attached, you have emotional attachment, you're overly attached to that certain IP or certain merchandise, and then you keep repeating it, parroting it over and over and over again, people get tired. And in the end, it will come back to you. You will feel tired of it too. And then it will cascade again into you getting tired, into collecting as a whole. However, when I said that was the bad part, and then the good part of having an emotional attachment is that people who are emotionally attached to a certain IP or a certain merchandise tend to be more focused in their collection. Like I said, I've met people who like only collect purple robots, and I mean real, literal purple painted robots. And then like I know a person who only collects sound waves. I know a person who only collects Overwatch Figmas. And then I know a person who only likes Akagi from Azure Lane. And then a person who would love a certain item like I forgot, a friend collected a Beyblade, I forgot what's the name, but he only collects this particular one, this particular character's Beyblade and all its variant, but never the others. When you're emotionally attached, this is the good part. You get focused on your collection. When you're focused in your hobby, it means that, one, you are saving more, basically, because you're not buying things that you don't really want, or just impulsive purchases. You totally for the most part, you totally remove all impulse purchases because you're so focused on that certain item, certain merchandise, or a certain trait. When you're collecting, what matters is that it should make you happy. And people who are emotionally attached to a certain character or a certain design or a certain, let's say, a certain trait of a toy, they tend to be more focused, and their collection, if you see it, you'd probably notice it, that they seem to be content. People who are focused and emotionally attached to a certain character, IP, or merchandise, they look, you can almost see it that they're content no matter what you do or what you talk about or what's the news or what's the big next what's the next big thing appearing on the social media. You would always love the same thing. I mean, sure, you might get interested in the new things, and that's pretty much fine. Hold on for a second. Something. Oh, there we go. Okay. So anyway, I thought someone's at the door, but never mind. But let's see. When you are emotionally attached, you tend to, like I said, you tend to be more focused and you tend to be more content. I'm not saying that you won't be interested or you won't be flexible for trying out new IPs or new merchandises, but it's harder for you to get interested in another IP or another merchandise or another trait because you're focused on that. You're so focused that you need to be focused on another thing to get attracted to it. For instance, I have my friend who collects like all these. He used to collect, I think it was a railgun, railgun. And then he took a long while before he started like I don't know, man. I don't think I want to collect anymore because I got everything that I ever liked. And then he started seeing, I think he started seeing Jujutsu Kaisen. He started seeing Jujutsu Kaisen and he loved it because it took him a long while after how many episodes until he actually grew into it and liked it. And then he started collecting Jujutsu Kaisen merchandises. I mean, this is not a bad thing, but basically because you are technically reducing cost. You are technically saving money because it's harder for you yourself to get attracted to something new, and it's harder for you to buy anything new because basically, even though, for instance, if you see a Jujutsu Kaisen merchant, if this person saw Jujutsu Kaisen merchandise, he'd probably have various thoughts over that purchase. Like, this is actually something that I liked, or this is just something that can be skipped. Because when a focused person gets a new focus, they tend to be overly critical towards the second one. That's just how the way it goes. It never was the other way around. When a focused person or a person who used to have an emotional attachment to one IP and then moved on to another IP, they tend to be I wouldn't say picky. I would say overly they scrutinize more. They scrutinize more than they actually need to. But that's not a bad thing. Having an emotional attachment can be good or bad depending on the intensity, not how much, but the intensity of that emotional attachment. So what I'm trying to say is having an emotional attachment is good, but you need to manage it. You need to manage it so it hits the right balance between accepting new things or new ventures, new items, new IPs, new merchandise. Strike the balance between hitting the new ones and the previous ones. It's not always an easy thing. I mean, some people can take years to figure out what they really wanted or what they are really emotionally attached to. Some people can take years. For me personally, it took me like 16 years? No, 15 years, I think. Give or take, it was 15 years for me to really, really look at a certain item and yeah, this is it. This is what I wanted. It really took a while for me, and it can take longer or sooner for some people. But no matter how long it might be, it's always the same. You gotta manage how much you are attached to an item. For instance, that if by any chance at one point in life that you need to part with them, either because of financial reasons or space reasons or whatever that reason might be, if by some chance at the end of somewhere along the road that you need to part with them, people who are overly attached to a certain item, parting with them can be really, really devastating. A friend of mine had a mother. She loves porcelain dolls. She loves them. She collects everything. She collects porcelain dolls, small, big ones. She collects them. At one point, she had to move away, and the new house isn't that spacious or isn't that generous and where you can store or display these porcelain dolls, and she had to part with it, and it caused her to be quite sad and quite depressed for quite a long while. So yeah, it can be tiring. So you gotta really, really manage how much you are attached to your collection. So if I want to put it to word, it's not like you're actually ignoring your collection, or you just say, I don't think I'll it's not like you're ignoring or you're like giving zero fucks to your collection. It's more of I don't know how to put it into words, because basically you must realize that these things, one way or the other, either by your design or not, will part with you. It will. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the situation is caused by you or by something else out of your control. You will part with your collection one day. And overly attached to a collection can be devastating when that happens. Manage your attachment to your collection. Love them, but do not obsess over them. Like them, but do not be overly possessive with them. This is the first section. This is the first show, the Toy Story show. I hope that this talk can be quite informative, but I don't know if this is informative, because this is just basically me sharing stuff. But I hope it might be useful for you in your journey in collecting. For those of you who just started, or for those of you who are already at the dusk of your collecting days, I hope this will be useful for you. And I'll see you guys later tomorrow for a gaming session. But I don't have a Toy Story. I think I have a Toy Story after that, but I'll see you guys later. And after that, we're going to talk about looking cool with your collections. And I'm not saying looking cool, collections that look cool, but you'll understand once once the video goes live and we'll talk about it. Again, I'll see you guys later.